On the latest OVO Sound, Drake played a few songs and also apparently leaked one of Kanye's tracks. This track is Life of the Party, which features Andre 3000. Now, there's been rumblings of a beef between the two. Whether or not that's actually true, I mean, that's up to us to decide and for them to confirm at some point. However, this is a song that a lot of people are pretty hype about. So, let's go bar for bar and break down these lyrics. If you're new to this channel, these breakdowns are where I go through and give my interpretation of lyrics from a song that's released. Typically, I don't do leaks or unreleased songs, but this one is an exception. So, if I've missed something or misinterpreted anything with these lyrics, please let me know in the comments below. That way, everyone gets to learn something. Now, let's get into it. So we start off with an intro. So the intro, I mean, it's a pretty chill, like, start off to the song, and is, to me, reminiscent of the old Kanye. But, you know, it starts off pretty, I guess, somber, and it sounds reflective, talking about how he could have almost died, which is in reference to that car accident many years ago now. But, you know, that's something that he references frequently. Solid start off, and then we get into 3 Stacks verse. Andre 3000 clearly was involved in this, and it wasn't just a random verse because he's referencing Donda directly. And he's like, hey, if you see my mom up there, tell her I said say something, which is kind of just like, you know, when you're just like, hey, when you see so-and-so, tell them I said say what's up or something. So, you know, just say something to her, like remind her that, or not remind her, but just tell her that I'm thinking of her, sort of thing. And he's starting to believe that there's no such thing as heaven's trumpets, so that's kind of maybe where he's going with that. Like, he doesn't necessarily believe that there is an afterlife, so he could be talking to Donda and telling him to say what's up to his mom, but he could also just be talking to the void, and he doesn't know if anything's actually going to come of it. And then he's just talking about, like, if there was a heaven, or if there is a heaven, you'd think that they'd let you, Donda, speak to your son, Kanye, or him speaking to his mother. And he's like, yo, if there was a heaven, why wouldn't we be able to communicate? But then maybe they have. Maybe the way that they communicate is via a baby's laugh, for Kanye, and for 3 Stacks too. But you know, like, they're children. Maybe that's how their mothers are communicating with them now. And just the passing of that stroller as well. Like, and it couldn't, I guess in this case, it doesn't necessarily have to be their children, but the stroller is reminding them, like, yo, just keep on rolling, keep it pushing. So carrying on that blade of grass line, you know, when you lay in grass for a while, sometimes you get itchy. So he got up and started roaming around. And he's still speaking to Donda, which to me is still interesting. Like, it makes sense because it's the album is Donda, but also it's like, you would think that he would want to have this conversation or like try to talk to his mom, but I guess it's more like maybe he hasn't heard enough of a response whenever he reached out, so maybe he's trying another route. But he was like, yo, tell my mom I'm lost, because when she was around and he had issues, like, they would just talk and, you know, work through things. When he mentions that they're having a conversation and she would light up a cigarette, he would cough. That was really just to emphasize that he wanted her to quit smoking. And then he just kind of turns it and he's like, I would be like, nah, I would just leave and smoke a joint. And then apparently he quit for 20 years and just, I'm assuming recently started up again. And I guess everyone in the meantime had just thought that he was high constantly, which I guess was not the case. So thought I was crazy, just probably in reference to how Andre is a bit more eccentric than Big Boy, at least when you can look at Outkast. So people may have thought he was crazy. Also the fact that people just kind of randomly saw him in the streets playing the flute. And then him saying, I do miss a show in 7 civilian shit. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying there exactly. I think what he could be referencing is like civilian shit being just regular people things. So he missed a show that he was supposed to perform at because he wanted to just live a more regular life. The other thing that came into mind was like I don't know why it came into my head, but like when people are incarcerated and leave prison, they're back to their civilian life, or when they are coming back from military service, they're back in their civilian life. So it could be something in relation to that. I'm just not entirely sure, honestly. So he wanted Donda to tell his mom this, and this confession, which I guess was also interesting, because he's like, the real reason I was so geeked to go to church was confess. So I mean, that's something that people do in church at times. And he's like, yo, the real reason I wanted to go to church was so we could fuck. He's assuming that people probably knew, but they just were like, no, it's okay. Let them explore each other. And then he has another request of Donda, and he's asking, if you see my father, ask him why he never married, and was he actually happy? Which, I mean, that's a real heavy question. Like, if if you're in a household where your parents aren't married but they're together, like, that is out of the ordinary, especially back when Andre was growing up. I mean, nowadays it's becoming a bit more normal, but back then for sure it wasn't commonplace. And then asking him if he was actually happy, like even when he was smiling, like that's a legitimate thing. Like there's people who always put on a happy face, or like they basically pretend to be happy, but are they really? Like, maybe he's relating the fact that he never married to the fact that he could have just not been happy, or the idea that he wasn't happy. Carrying on, like, this is kind of evidence as to why he possibly wasn't happy. Because, if you help to bring someone into this world, the fact that your name isn't really attached to them in any sort of way, I mean, that probably hurts. I don't know that, but I mean, I could see that. No coincidence that they both happened to pass away due to heart conditions because of all their past. Like, they were, like, he's assuming, like, heavy-hearted because of all the things that they had gone through in their lives. And then he was just like, me, I'm just the poster child for dudes raised by their mothers. And he's supposed to smile as if God knew that he'd be troubled. So he's kind of relating himself to his father, I'm assuming, because like he's troubled in his own ways, and obviously has to deal with like his own family life. So he's like, maybe that's why I'm always smiling like this. God knew I was going to be troubled, so he at least gave me a smile. Those last lines are kind of sad, which, I mean, given the context of this verse, makes a bit of sense. He's basically like, this smile, even though I'm troubled, like, it's keeping me around, but I really don't know why. He's like, why am I still here? Like, it's so important. Like, is my smile and like my presence so important that I stick around? Like, but really, how much longer can I do this for? Then we get into Kanye's verse with some DMX cuts into it. The DMX cuts are, I believe, from the video of him and his daughter on a roller coaster. We also get that outro from him, which is directly from that, but there's little bits cut into it from here. So, Kanye's verse. Yeah, so he's talking directly to his mother. And it's like, he's just talking about what's going on with him. Like, your son in the red hat. I mean, Kanye, we've all seen him wear the MAGA hat, and he has suffered setbacks because of that. I mean, a lot of people have, I guess, gone against him, which I'm totally, like, I'm in agreement with that sort of thing, because his whole political stance is a bit, let's say much. Let's go with that. There's all these things that he shouldn't have said, and it made everyone mad. But then he's also like, I made 808s and heartbreaks, so now he's everyone's dad, which makes sense because 808s and heartbreaks at the time, I feel like it wasn't received as well as it should have been, but now it's such a influential album. Like, there's so many people that pull directly from it. Okay, so nobody punked me, nobody pressured me, nobody gangsta me. I think that's just people kind of pressing him. It could be in reference to Drake. I mean, he does mention him later on, but it could be in reference to that. It could just be people in general trying to like be like, yo, what the fuck, Kanye? But then he's like, no one can do this to me, especially when these gangsters are eating because of me. And that is in reference to, I believe, the 808s line, where, people kind of borrowed that sound or influenced by that sound. Then he just kind of throws that in there, that his favorite principal was Mrs. Wooten, who was really strict and I guess the perfect instructor for young Putin. I don't know why he felt the need to put that in there, but all right. I assumed it was Vladimir Putin. I don't know why he had to clarify that, but still, it just kind of feels like a strange line. To be fair, though, this is a leak, so it's likely not meant to be the completed and full track. So those lines probably could have been removed later on. And then, who should we fear when we know Dad is here? I think Dad in this sense is maybe talking about God, like the Holy Father. He doesn't play, and it's just over everyone's dead body that, like everyone's gonna have to die before his daughter poses in Playboy. Battery in my back, this house of pain won't ever last. I don't know what he means by the battery, but house of pain, just, all this stress and everything that he's dealing with. Like, he's like, this won't last. Not necessarily that it'll pass, but it can also be overwhelming. Like, it can come crumbling down on him. And then him saying, Sci-Hi told him to his face that Sicko Mode was his biggest song. Yeah, it kind of was. I mean, if you aren't aware, Sci-Hi has writing credits on Sicko Mode, and I believe he did the reference track. And, I mean, I like Sci-Hi, but I don't think the majority of the general public knows really who Sci-Hi is. So, Sicko Mode is his biggest song. So, and then he kind of carries on that Sci-Hi ghostwriting bit with like, well, yeah, sure, because Donda was my best ghostwriter. Literally as a ghost. I mean, that's one way to take it, I guess. But also, like, I'm sure she was very influential when he was writing and just a part of his music. And then him putting Virgil and Drake on the same text, which was interesting. But this is more than likely in reference to that screenshot of a text message that he posted on IG, which makes it seem like this song was written very recently. Like, was it in like the last week or so? Him putting Drake and Virgil on the same text convo wasn't about the whole ACG or Arc'teryx and or Cuddy dress, which Virgil had influence or had a part in. It was just about them like, yo, stop fucking around, stop being funny. Like, I guess just stop playing with me. And then he might hire the whole team from ACG, maybe for Yeezy, just further his brand. And then he's like, don't text me like I'm Juanita JCV, which I looked up and apparently is an Instagram model that Drake follows. So he's like, yo, don't hit me up like her. I don't know who Monica Corrigan is, but she was there for him. Like, and he's basically saying like, this is rare. Like, he doesn't really have people that are just there for him. So it's like, this is a breath of fresh air. This is great. So stockholders told him boardrooms will bore him. I'm assuming people at either Nike or Adidas, probably Adidas. He's like, yo, these boardrooms are going to bore you. Like, kind of telling him not to get too into all of this. Like, kind of just be the name. Yeah, and then he told Drake, don't play with me on GD. So I'm guessing he has Gangsta's disciples on his side. So I guess Drake better watch out. Don't know what message he sent to everybody, but him saying, if I hit you with the WID, you better hit me with the yes sir, I'm writing everything you need, makes it seem like if he hits Drake up with a what you doing, like, his response better be like, yo, I'm writing everything you need. Almost as if Drake is Kanye's ghostwriter. Maybe? That seems a bit strange. Maybe just kind of like trying to put himself in a place of power, I think. So any of the cap won't take none of that back. He's like, the cap. I'm like, I'm not taking, this is not cap. I'm not taking anything back. And then he's like, where's my motherfucking red hat? I don't know why he's still on that, but all right. Security and the nannies be forever handling. Maybe he's talking about security being nannies to him, but also, I guess, obviously, Kanye has security around him, and then he has nannies for his kids. And maybe people are saying that they play similar roles. And then him saying, can't stand it when there's talks about putting kids back in Sierra Canyon when daddy got his own school. Sierra Canyon being a private school. Maybe, I don't know if it's because he doesn't trust the other kids because COVID is still rampant and most children cannot be vaccinated. So he's like, no, I don't want to put my kids back in school. But maybe, does he have his own school? I'm not sure. So he's telling Travis to smile for the white people if he wants. Travis Scott. He doesn't have to smile for no one. And then while that's happening, we're going to build a team to get Larry Hoover out the joint. And then this is his life. I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm going to serve and protect as long as my wife. Yeah, So serve and protect is always like a police sort of thing. So I don't know if he's taking the stance of a police officer or if he's like in support of the police as long as they're helping him. Hard for me to say there. So here, I mean, he's continuing like his support for his wife, or now ex-wife, I suppose. Like, I'm not gonna let the percentage that she gets from Skims, her company, get lower. Which, I mean, that's a nice thing to do. Back then, or well now, people were thinking that he's only making millions, but in reality, he is, I guess his worth is $9 billion now. You ain't gotta like me, but you feel me? Do you really feel me? Like, you ain't gotta like me, but you, like, do you understand where I'm coming from? Yeah, and then it just kind of wraps up. So get off scot-free, Ridley Scott. Get off our knees. That's if you're with me. Like, stop begging. Like, stand up and fight for something. And be free. Then it just kind of gets into this weird part where Kanye's kind of singing at the very end. I mean, he was kind of doing that a little bit there too, but this kind of re-emphasizes the point that this is not a completed track. Like, I'm sure if there was an official release, like, either this part would get more refined or it would just be removed entirely. Then we get into that outro from DMX, like I alluded to earlier, which is just pretty much the entire clip of him and his daughter being on the roller coaster, and him just kind of trying to calm her because, I mean, she's scared, of course. That is important because he also said something along the line of like, whom should we fight when we know dad is here? So him saying, like, DMX saying daddy's here is, I think Kanye is taking it as an allusion to God's here, God's around us. But also, I mean, Kanye is a father, so he wants to be there for his kids, probably in a similar way that DMX was for his children. That's the track, though. It's interesting. So I really liked Andre's verse. Kanye's verse was okay. It was honestly, a lot more in depth and like than I was expecting, to be completely honest, because I mean, recently Kanye hasn't been like super lyrical or trying to say a whole lot. Like, here it sounds like he's got a lot off his chest, which is good. It is very interesting though. Like, I feel like Andre's verse was definitely made with the intention of this being on the album. Kanye's verse, I feel like, is more recent, and maybe he just had that 3 Stacks verse and he was like, let me write something to it. And it does kind of follow the same sort of theming where he's like talking about talking to his mother, talking like just in general about the afterlife to some extent. But I think, I mean, clearly it's not a finished verse, so who knows if we'll actually get a completed version of it. What is confusing to me is why Drake leaked it in the first place. The only thing I can think of, like, is that maybe he's like, yo, Kanye said my name. Kanye said it first. I mean, they've been doing subliminal stuff for so long. I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting. I mean, it could also just be marketing. I mean, maybe they're just working together and Drake and Kanye are like, hey, it'd be wild if we did this. Watch what happens. And now we're talking about it. So it's hard to say exactly why this happened, but I like to think it's because, like, one, probably marketing, but also maybe just Drake is trying to be like, Kanye said my name. He said my name. Like, he's not a good boy. Something like that. I don't know. But that's all I got. This has gone on long enough. Let me know in the comments below if I missed something or misinterpreted anything, because like I said, that's totally possible, and it helps everyone just kind of understand things a little bit more. Also, let me know what you thought about this track. I thought it was cool. Clearly, the track is not finished, like I said, but what are your thoughts? Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more breakdowns and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.